Right, Samir. So it has been very interesting presentation. So, one thing for sure, which I would like to ask you, that over this call, there are more than 200 people who have logged in, and many more will watch this video later when we will upload it on YouTube. So one thing where we can definitely add value, given and given your background experience, you come across, you are a thought leader for this industry, is helping investors identify and select equities in asset class. Because many investors, in India are averse to taking risk. Obviously, India is a young country. We have attractive demographics, attractive age, entrepreneurial thrive, everything is there. But still, people who are actually investors in equity are much lower.
Very few.
People are averse to, I would say, accepting equity in asset class, right? And that is the core aspect.
Correct.
Right, and that is the core aspect, right? The core aspect, right? Now, and why that as an advisor, right? What I have identified, that why does that happen? Because people put too much attention on macro factors, and and that is where, when it comes to portfolio managers, what they say, that macro does not matter at all, because they are creating a portfolio of 5, 7, 10, 15, 20 or 25 those businesses which are kind of less linked to macro, and they are innate businesses, like you quoted examples of Nestle, for example, right, which are consistent compounders or secular businesses.
No, I didn't actually. I was saying, how would you have chosen at that time? Because they all look similar.
Right.
Nestle and Colgate. Why wouldn't you could have picked up Colgate, but Colgate is up only 20 times.
Absolutely.
I was saying different in a different context, but I understand your point.
Absolutely, right. So so first of all, I would like to ask you
explain that.
Yeah, correct. So your take, first of all, what is your view over, say, next decade in regards to India's macro scenario or global macro scenario, right? And secondly, obviously I understand that you believe in diversification, because as you said, ultimately, after creating a portfolio, we have to pray for good times, right? So because we cannot predict, which is absolutely a right point. So when ultimately macro is going to make the money eventually, how much important it is to have ongoing study of each and every business that you are owning in a portfolio, and what process to follow in that regards.
Okay, so first thing, I didn't fully understand the question, but let me answer them in my way. So first thing is that for equity, the case for equity is very, very easy. Why it is easy? Because equity is not some Indian concept. It has been around for 100 years. So we can give you data for 100 years for 14 countries, which will show you that and that it does not include India actually, that the equity market of these countries beat the debt market of the same country, the government bond of the same market, by an average of 5 to 6% per annum, which is called the ERP, equity risk premium. So the thumb rule in the world is that in return for taking the risk that you take, you are rewarded with a 5 to 6% per annum higher return than the government bond. Now we have another book, because I read so many books, which we can show you or tell you, where it will show that if you had invested in Japan in 1939, when the World War had just started and nobody knew that there will be a bomb or a nuclear or atomic bomb thrown on Japan, that if you had invested in Japan in 1939, you would still have been better than having invested in the Japanese bond fund in 1939. But then to recover the money, for this to have worked, you would have had to hold it for a longer period than some 5-7 normal years. You would have had to hold it for some 14-15 years. But after that, you would have said, I was better off owning equity than I was if I had held bonds throughout. So the big picture is that if you come in at an extremely bad time, that period might take longer in which you can say that my equity did better than what bank deposit or a bond. But in a normal period, equities will be debt in a 5-7 or even shorter period. The second thing is that if you happen to come in at a bad time, let us say you invest in the Indian market in December of 2007, and then next year there's a big fall, then it would have taken you till 13 or so to say that 14 to say that you have done better than what else you could have done. But If you believe in the concept of equity like I do, then naturally when the market has fallen 30-40% or something and you are down 30-40%, you must put more money. You may not put it with the same fund manager because you are now hating that fund manager. You may not put it in the same stock because you are now hating that stock for being down 30%. But the idea that the equity market will recover, whether you recover or get thrown out of your position, is sort of cast in stone. Because you're taking a risk, that is the return. The problem with this is that people will stop their SIPs at that time, or they will walk out and say, now we will wait for 1 or 2 years, and when the market recovers, then we will go back. And that chance they will not be allowed. That is the thumb rule also. You will, if you walk out in December 2008 to say, now I will wait till I see something, and then in 2009 the market goes up 100%. So then you will have to wait even more, because you will say, you know, I just missed a 100% rally. I like an idiot sold in October 8. So you will miss it even more. So the broad thing is, you should have only that much that if it falls 30%, you will not redeem. You can switch the fund manager, blow out the fund manager, nobody cares, but you will not leave the market. And most probably you will add, because whether you like it or not, which is what those macro guys are saying in a different way. I mean, these other guys are saying that you do what you want, the market is going to recover, because we have data for, other than logic, we have data. And for US, the data is for 200 years. So I can show you data from one of these books that in 1929, which is when the US depression started or crash started, if you had invested in October 1929, by some 1945 or so, you would have done better than owning US bonds. But then you would have had to hold it for 16 years, 15 years. But that is when you made, and this we are assuming no further averaging. So the game is of averaging, because the averaging recovers it faster, because assuming that the recovery is guaranteed of the index level, which is true, because every time you've seen that the index is not what it was. But if you had averaged it along the way, your recovery will be a little faster. There is no discussion on that, whether you call it macro, micro, it's like understood, yes.
So going forward, you know, from these levels, if one has to create a portfolio, and this is what my second part of the question was, you know, if we have accepted macros, we have accepted equities in asset class, we have accepted a diversified portfolio. Now we have to create a diversified portfolio. And, you know, given the macro factors, given your, you know, common sense, given your experience, help us, you know, with what are the various sectors, what are the various, you know, points that you will look at in terms of creating a very sound portfolio, diversified portfolio.
So basically, as I was saying, diversified for me only means 30, 35 names. It doesn't mean 100 names. But that is because, as I said, we like two kinds of stocks. One is where you are being a little bit more disciplined in terms of buying stocks with a long history. But as soon as there is long history and long this thing, it is a story that suddenly they will massively outperform. Broadly, they will do a good job, but they will not outperform because they have done well for so long, and the world rule is very simple. There's nothing that we have to discover in India. There is no company that has done well for 40 years. Story over. Now maybe one will. But you can't choose 10 best companies of the last 10 years and say, therefore they will do well. No, they did well. That's why you chose them. It's not that 10 years ago you thought that these are the 10 best companies and all that. I have lived through them by owning many of these, not all of them, but many of them. So that time the knowledge and the view on them was so different when things were actually to be bought. So for example, there was a study done by one of our broker friends on what is called wealth creation study, that what have been the biggest contributors for the last 25 years. The point is, Kotak always comes in it. Kotak Bank. We used to own 5% of Kotak in 2001. But please note, it was not a bank. It became a bank in 2001. So how can you take a study back to 1996 when it was a broker? You would not have bought it. Achha, now it becomes a bank in 2001. How do you know he's a good management? He was a broker before. Broker who knew exactly what great corporate governance we have. Nobody knows. So in 2001, Kotak becomes a bank. So in which year will you say he's got good management and good skills and good ability to allocate capital? Take you another 7 years, right? How can you say in 2002 is a good management? So when we bought it, we didn't know it's good management. We knew it is not bad management. So we will buy 2%. So 2% buying is different. Now to say, I would have done study for 25 years. These are the 20 questions I would have asked him. How could I have asked him? He had no answer. If I had asked him, what is your capital allocation decision? What would he say? He's never allocated capital. He's never gone through a crisis. So this thing is that it is so you have to balance. So the balance is either you will go to 3 fund managers. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be diversified beyond 35 stocks. I have never met a fund manager a client who says, I gave all my money to one fund. As soon as you buy 2 funds, you got more stocks than I offer. So that is not a big deal. The point in general is that you will make what you call is sort of an all-weather portfolio, which means if mid-caps do well, you have something. If some turnaround happens, a little bit you have. If quality is doing, you will have. You will just not overdo anyone. That is the simple formula. And in India, the themes that we have always had, and which I didn't tell you, broadly the themes in India are much simpler than in the world. In India, private sector financials is a standard theme, and we are the original guys in it, but totally agreed. Second is consumer is a theme because it's a young demographic, willing to take leverage. In fact, there are many sectors where even in urban India, you might say that it's underpenetrated, like air conditioning and all, where even one room may not have an air conditioner, and theoretically you can have it in 3 rooms, and the cost of buying equipment has come down, the electricity is available, the heating, people have more income, and it's become hotter, whatever. There'll be many simple stories. And the third is these 2 or 3 global sectors that India has created. First of all is IT. Second is maybe pharma. And third these days is a new sector, or now a few years old, specialty chemicals, which is all one theme of exporting. There is no need. I mean, people make money out of tea. They make money out of sugar. They make money out of fertilizer policy. I don't even read them. I don't care them. I don't know who the minister is, and I don't know what the policy is. I don't know which state has it. That is everybody's view, because we don't want to be that much dependent on government policies and weather and all that. But generally, otherwise, that is what the fund manager is supposed to do. No, you are supposed to be convinced that equity is good, and then somebody will do it for you if you can't do it.
Sure. So I'll give a disclaimer here that we would have discussed maybe some of the stocks, but this is just an education series, and that would give some comfort to some of you also, because I'm going to ask you some of your projections, because that is exactly now in last 5-10 minutes we may want to understand from you. What are your views with regards to selecting, for example, cyclicals or non-cyclicals, amongst sectors? You said that you have a balanced portfolio which has some bit of everything.
We have these 3 themes, I told you, which is about 85-90%. But 10-15% we can have outside. So we may have like L&T, I don't know what to call it. Whatever you want to call it, we don't care. The only thing we don't normally buy, even that we might buy once in a while, because when we are buying 30-35 stocks, our top stocks are say 6-7%. Okay, but the rest are 2-3%. Because that's how you get to 100. So if I buy 2 cyclical, I don't consider that I have done something cyclical, greatly cyclical. My main game is that if you look at the last 25 years, every 3 years there was a new fund manager who was the hero of that time. And after 3 years, he was more or less gone. If you want, I can give names, but I don't want to. There was one guy who was a hero for 10 years and he's now gone. And we don't want to be gone. So we don't want that idea that I only do this, because that goes away. That is the story. There, if you see these days, the game becomes, say, quality. Actually, 3-4 years ago, there was another quality set. That set had Hero Honda and Eicher Motor. Who we are talking about, Hero Honda and Page and Eicher Motor. That quality got blown up, so new quality came. The idea is we are not so dumb that we can only follow 25 companies because my peer group follows 40 countries. There are fund managers who are global fund managers. Why can't I be a proper India fund manager without saying I am a 1/10 of India fund manager? So the point is, there are many stocks. I showed you mathematically or arithmetically that every year there'll be some 90-100 stocks which will do so well compared to the index that owning the worst of those 100 stocks, you'll be blessed in life.
Got it. Got it.
Just don't think that overdoing one thing will help. That will help somebody who might be lucky. But it is not obvious that you can say 1 or 2 stocks and I will buy. Like people say on Twitter, I know they'll say we'll buy 3 stocks, 4 stocks. They are trying to suddenly from 1 lakh in 1 year become 1 crore. That somebody may become also. Bill Huang went from 200 million to having a net worth of $30 billion if you read his story today, and then went to zero in 2 days.
So, another question is regards to selecting between offshore investing and domestic investing. Since you're a global fund manager, what are your views in this regards for Indian investors?
So Indian investor must invest a little bit outside India because there are many good companies outside India and you know more about them than many of the Indian companies. I mean, you mean anybody. So why should you not own Google and Amazon and Netflix or whatever, or Walt Disney or Bank of America or JP Morgan? These are worth owning. Secondly, whatever they may say that we have 580 billion, basically over time, Indian rupee has all my life given up 4-5% against the US dollar every year, at least annualized, not necessarily literally every year. And so having 10-20% or 25% outside India is nothing wrong. Please buy US stock, global funds. If you are into equities and you want to buy good businesses, for many of these areas, the good businesses are not in India. So I think it's fair to buy. Whether they outperform every period, I don't know. But they have not done badly. Yeah, can be owned. The problem is that in India, you can do it either LRS, which is a very complicated thing and where the income tax guys come and ask you too many questions, or you can buy through the Indian mutual fund, buying the foreign fund. The problem with that is that the fees are high because the Indian guy is not managing. He is actually tied up with a foreign fund and then he just feeds into it. But still, little bit can be bought. Nothing wrong with it.
So last year, around, obviously, in month of March, April, nobody knew what is happening. But May, June, July, August, during that period also, I, remember I was hearing you coming over CNBC and TV. Obviously, because times were very confusing, and at that point of time, you were very candid in pointing out that even if market is rising, the times are very uncertain.
Correct.
What is your view now? Is your view?
No, so my thing is that I was saying that if you are already, so what I say always, that what you do depends on what you have done. For example, us, we are an India-only fund. We are, instead of being, suppose normally our average used to be 60% net. At that time, in the Feb-March period, if I make it 55% and the market is going, who cares? It's 5-7%, I'm going to change my life. But I like the idea that I am not in a position where if something happens, I'll be blown off. So I was telling, if you have enough money in the market, don't worry that whether I have to put 10% more or not. Who cares whether you put 10% or not, other than to tell stories on Twitter? It makes no difference to anybody. Just stay with what you have would be a highlight of life. If you had never invested money before and you really woke up in the COVID, which is very rare, except in social media, then you may start and put more money. So I am saying in these tough times, instead of saying to a guy, put more, and that guy is already down, Shanti is also okay because that one was a genuinely new one. So in our own PMS, so we got our first 2 checks on March 16th. Now these total checks were for 1.5 crores, 1 crore and 50 lakh. अब क्या करें इसका? अगले दिन लॉकडाउन हो गया 19th को या 20th को. अब मैंने उसको बोला क्या करें, दिनशा रानी कहता है छोड़ देते. मैं छोड़ दो अभी, छोड़ दो, क्या फायदा उसके बेचारे पैसे इन्वेस्ट करते. हमने बिजनेस ही बंद कर दिया, 1.5 करोड़ के लिए हमने पीएमएस शुरू कर दिया, छोड़ दे अभी थोड़ी देर. So we left it in April. So we invested in end of May. Then everybody's okay that now life has restarted. I randomly invest 1.5. I'm stuck with having started a PMS for life and maybe some world is falling on my head. How does it matter beyond a point? It doesn't matter except storytelling. The point is to stay the course, not to add necessarily depending on the, what is happening. So from that time, and now I feel it's a normal good market. It is not some, it is India's decade and India's century. I am not, I don't talk like that. It is normal. A normal market means you're supposed to be debt. You're supposed to have a happy outcome. But it is not that, oh my God, if you don't invest today, some pata nahi what you will miss tomorrow morning. Nothing. It's a normal market, which is what 80-90% of the time the market is, but it still does well.
What is your view on Bitcoins?
My view is that it is very bad. Because my simple logic is that the Bitcoin argument that is used is inconsistent. And I am a theoretical guy in that sense. So, for example, they will say when Elon Musk says that you can use a Bitcoin to buy Tesla, what does that mean? Why should the Bitcoin price go up? Because if you believe that Bitcoin price will go to 200,000 because now Visa is allowing usage of Bitcoin, PayPal is allowing usage of Bitcoin, you can use Bitcoin to buy Tesla, maybe you can do. So if you're going to use it for transaction, and because of that the price will go up, why will you use it for transaction? If you give me the logic that if you transact a lot with Bitcoin, the Bitcoin price will go to 200,000. I'll say, how you transact? I'm not transacting. I'm going to keep it till 200,000. I will transact with dollar. If somebody can explain that, I will buy Bitcoin. Second thing is that suddenly this young crowd, which has got $600 checks from the US government, is going to say that this is gold. Gold became gold in 5 years. Gold became gold in 10,000 years. They say that the price of gold in the days, some Roman times, if it could buy a suit, then for the same price you'll be able to buy a suit today. ऐसे तो ना बन जाता है घर बैठ के कि हमें कंप्यूटर में पसंद आ गया. And then if you're running around and you need gold as a safety crisis, a coup, hacking, these are the new issues that will happen. So Bitcoin, what will Bitcoin do for you? It's according to me a high beta Nasdaq stock.
Rightly put.
But I have to pray that it doesn't fall apart. If it falls apart, my US market will fall apart, our global fund will fall, and Indian fund will not be saved because now it is connected to the market as a high beta name. It should slowly deflate or whatever, but can't crash, because if it crashes, it will crash. Tesla, everything will crash with it then.
So these days, PMS as a product structure has become popular, and you have managed mutual fund in the earlier avatar, and now you have launched a PMS product. So what is, from investors' perspective, there is definitely this confusion in selecting between PMS structure and a mutual fund structure. What are your
So the logic for that is that in a mutual fund, if you look at this, Outlook magazine has a annual which just came out in Feb on the top fund managers of India in the mutual fund space. So if you look at the number of mutual fund managers who have, which means India has, because that is the industry, how many people in India have 5-year track record? You tell me, so what do you think? How many people in the whole of India, in an industry of so many billions of trillions or whatever rupees, how many individuals in India, how many individuals have a 10-year track record? Your guess.
50.
35, you can see there.
Okay.
And how many have 5 years? I think 55, 60. So in the whole country, there are 35 guys who have 10-year plus track record. We have, each of our guys has 26-year track record, 4 guys in our company. And I have, as a fund manager, actual, not buying a stock and then saying, if I had this stock for 25 years, what would be my performance? People are selling even that these days. That you buy HDFC Bank and say, if I had held it for 25 years, this would have been the return, but we've actually owned it. So there is a difference in our track record, which is a live track record, not a simulated or a paper portfolio. Second is that we have all, these days, what does the world keep asking? What is FI doing? What is this guy doing? What is FI doing? We are also FIIs, the same individuals. We are also shorting stocks for our other fund. We are also buying global stocks, not exactly the full team, but at least I am a little bit there. And we have all worked together for 20 years and 16 years for the other and 20 for one. So when things fall, which they will, when things will go out of favor, they will, then many of these things fail when if it's a newly assembled teams. So that is our proposition. But one more thing is that fund manager experience can only be seen when they have redemptions. Because if you are 1 year into the market and you get money, you are buying 25 stocks, you are buying the same 25 stocks. Maybe you'll buy 2 more stocks. But everybody in the market knows that this stock, if you make it fall too much, he will come and buy more. I can give you many examples because we short when those fund managers fall out of favor. Like it happened for iShares and all. For 4 years, we were short and made 40% on the way down after making some 30, 40 times on the way up because the main investors had redemptions. And you know, Aberdeen, let me forget about the Indian guys. Aberdeen for 3 years had massive redemptions and levers did not move up because he had some few $1 billion of levers in it. So if you overdo these things, whenever the cycle turns, you have to. So the game is not a one-way game. You keep getting money, I keep buying Page, it'll keep going up. When the guy who's owning Page has redemption, then the fun starts. So there is experience in it and track record. Rest is, who knows, everybody's thrown his hat in the ring.
Right. So this is last, question with regards to the 3, segments that you mentioned about your investment philosophy, right? Where you had covered that no to commodity stocks and no to PSUs, bank PSUs.
So there we are saying that broadly because State Bank is one of our top holdings.
Right.
It's actually the 3rd or 4th largest holding in all the fund, but we say no to PSU stocks. So what we mean by that is broadly speaking. There'll be 10-15% where, because as I said, my putting an announcement that I don't like PSU stock, the PSU stock doesn't care what I am doing. So if we like it, we'll buy it. But our experience, our history, and our current expectations are that if you are a commodity stock, if you are a PSU stock, if you are a billion consumer storage stock, or if you are a global stock but owned like Tata Motor, which is not an Indian stock, it is owned by Indians, and I don't care for that because I want an India play because I can understand. Nobody can understand whether the EV car of Tata Motors will be better or Volkswagen will be better or none of them will be better, but Apple will come in or NIO will come in or now Xiaomi has announced and Baidu has announced. How do I know? So we are not interested. But once in a while, if that company looks still good, like State Bank looked, then we are not going to say, oh, we made in a presentation that we are not supposed to buy. We broadly are not going to buy. But if it looks good, we will buy it. But it will be tougher for them to be included because the natural bias is then not to buy those companies.
So, though I mentioned that is the last question, but this is definitely fine. It's the last question.
No, you can ask. I'm at home, no problem.
Sure. So, you mentioned SBI just for as an example, right? So, what I want to understand is that if I try to put myself in your shoes, yeah, you come with 30 years of experience and you want to focus investing in India for Indian investors. From that perspective, given your 30 years of experience, you would have some biases. You would have, right? So you would have, you will go with gut also because of some. So how would you control that, or how would that benefit creating the portfolio? This is a real question which investors ask us.
Just to tell you that we started Helios. Forget about the Alliance days when we beat the market by 30% per annum for 8 years. In the Helios days, we started in 2005. So from 2006 to 2020, there have been 15 years, calendar years. In 12 years, we've been nominated for the best fund. All we know is that normally there is no consistency in the performance of the top guys because for whatever reason. Let's look at it. Let's look at 2017. The best fund will be some mid-cap fellow. Whoever is having 50-60% mid cap will be the best guy for 2017 performance, which means in 2018. 2018, the new guy starts to invest. A new PMS guy or a new mutual fund manager comes in and the market has started crashing. He will say, I don't buy mid caps. And he'll be the biggest hero for that year. At the end of 2018, the that ILFS problem happened. A new guy will come just after that and say, finance is a leverage business. I don't buy financial companies. Now, we also agree now that we should not buy, but we had a finance company from before. When the crisis was not there, that stock is down 30%. Now, I also don't feel like buying more, but what do I do with the stock which I liked for 5 years and now is down 30%? So that will confuse me for 3 months. The new guy will say, I don't buy these companies. Now will come 2018 or 19, and one guy will come and say, I only buy quality. You see, I am only a quality guy. So 1.5 years, quality will do well. Suddenly the market will expand. Another guy will come and say, I only buy beaten up names. Now the quality guy who is underperforming will say, I just told the world that I only like quality, but I really feel like buying this new cyclical stock called Tata Steel. And that is what will kill everybody. That is, we have seen for 25 years. You talk too much about what you will do, and you will not be able to change when it changes, because it will change. You overgo and say, I only like this, I only like this. And 6 months later, it will stop. That stop. There was a fund manager who says, buy right, stick tight. Each and every one of them went bad. 4 or 5 of them. So the point is, it is not an easy thing to oversay that. Basically say, we like the market, we broadly like these themes, and let us decide. If I tell you I am not, it becomes pressure on me. If I say HDFC Bank, I am a long-term investor, and tomorrow RBI says you are mis-selling, or because your technology is failing, your app is failing, I am putting a 3-year stop on you. What do I say? No, I'm not a long-term investor. So I'm already saying it depends. If Kotak's RBI had not renewed Mr. Uday Kotak's tenure as CEO, what am I supposed to say today? I will see. They may technically not even let Deepak Gupta be there because he's been a director for more than 10 years. Actually, under the original thing, even he's covered. What do I say? Today is my top holding. One of the... No, nothing I'm saying. These are what we like. We'll see how it goes. That's what the point is. The point is that the game is that when it turns, a test will be there. The test is when it turns. And it turns. If it did not turn, everybody would buy the same things. Why? People are not here for academic reasons. That no, we should not buy concentrated because you make money too easily. And that we should not do. We should work harder for a living. No, if everybody knew that these stocks are going up, everybody would buy them. But it doesn't happen like that. And it has never happened like that.
So has there ever been an evidence that a company like Nestle, for example, it is, standing today in terms of valuations and the historical return of having given 131 times returns, that, such companies over, say, a particular decade where economy is doing well, which is how it is expected in India over next decade, right? They underperform, and a lot of the other stocks.
All the time. But let's just look at it. So what do you think is the 10-year revenue growth of Nestle? Okay, make your guess without checking. What do you think? Okay, ask your crowd. How much? Last 10-year revenue growth. Nothing else.
Maybe 10%.
Yeah. 10%. What do you think is the GDP growth in rupee terms for the last 10 years? Maybe 10%.
Right.
You're going to pay for revenue growth, which is equal to my GDP. Okay, look at it differently. Let us say that, because I have owned all these companies because I've been around for so long. By the way, just to tell you, my fund pre any fee is up 400 times. None of these stocks are up 400 times, okay, from 96. But anyway, coming back to this. So if you look at a stock which goes from 20p, let us say, to 50p, and therefore its return is some whatever X% per annum, in which 1/10 of that was because of earnings, or half, let's say, even half was because of earnings and half was because the P kept going up. So now that 20p stock, 1 year later became 25p, then it became 30p, then it became 35p, now it has become 50p. So if I were to ask you, at what price should it trade in the future? Are you going to say that today's price is the correct price? And unless that company is growing at 25% per annum, which Bajaj Finance type companies were growing, Page were growing. This Asian Paint and Nestle have grown at 10% for 10 years. What suddenly has changed? What has changed is that, let us say that the earnings of the company grow 15% while the revenue is growing 10%. Okay, let's take some example, like even paints and all. So the earnings growth is very high, but the revenue growth is not high. What suppose theoretically, like we don't know. Let's say there was a multiple A to be given to an X% earnings growth. That means if the earnings growth is 20%, we will give it some 20, 30, whatever, 50, 100 multiple, whatever multiple you decide. But if you don't differentiate that whether this earnings growth came from revenue growth or from profit being higher because of margin, because you can save costs, you can cut costs, you can fire employees, you can cut advertising, you can do something. Cost reduction is not something which gets a 50 multiple, because cost reduction is limited. Revenue growth, at least you can dream that something is massively underpenetrated and therefore will go on for many years. But earnings growth coming from a cost saving can be clapped that in a bad time you have managed the situation. But that is not a sustainable thing which you can grow for 10, 20 years. The other thing is, let's look at HDFC Bank, because let's talk about my stock. Why should I talk about what I don't own? So HDFC Bank today has a market cap of some $10 odd billion. India's market cap is $2 trillion. So HDFC market cap is 5.5% of current India. Now let us say that HDFC Bank not grows its earnings, because everybody say, oh, you'll get 25% forever in this stock. 25%, let's say. So you put 20% per annum for 10 years. Please do 1.2 to the power of 10. It'll be some 6 point something. Okay, 1.2 into 1.2, 10 times. So that means you are saying that HDFC market cap after 10 years will be $750 billion. Okay, and then India's market cap will also go up. But obviously, India's market cap, we are not assuming growing at 20%, because if it is growing at the same rate as HDFC Bank, then what big value did HDFC Bank? So you'll have to assume that the market growth will be 12, 13% or something, or 14%. So please do on your own 1.14 into power of 10. You see how that difference will go up, because this guy is compounding at 13, 14%. This guy is compounding at 20, 22% as per dreams. Suddenly, HDFC Bank one day will be 9, 10% of the Indian market. Correct? It depends. I can put 10 years, I'll make it 12 years if it doesn't. Now, today, only one company, Reliance, can dare to be 10% of the market. And that also, because Reliance has one advantage which HDFC Bank does not have. Reliance can go into any sector it chooses. If retail is good, he says, I'm going to retail. If tomorrow technology is good, he'll say, I'm going to technology. HDFC Bank cannot do. Reliance can rely on growth outside my market. Reliance can say, I'm going to Timbuktu to dig oil. HDFC Bank, I don't think is saying, I'm going to become a bank in the United States. So it will be constrained by our... TCS can grow more because it can go around the world looking for technology business. HDFC Bank cannot. So this theory, buy the stock and hold it for 25 years and you'll make 25%, is because you're doing theory. So we say we are holding it. It is our top holding, but we are not going to tell you today that's a 10-year story. If it is still doing well after 3 years, it will be held for another 3 years. If it is doing well, we will hold it. We are holding it every year. We are not selling it, but does not mean we are committing on simultaneously that's a 20-year story, because nothing in the world is a 20-year story till it turns out to be a 20-year story in hindsight.
What are the signals that you will, identify to take an exit call?
No, so exit call doesn't have to be, first of all, in one shot. Unless if the events are like that, then it's different. I've taken many where we've gone from long to short in one trade. Okay, we did that last year also in one stock in Maruti. But anyway, so the thing is, you can do that also, but generally it's not like that for these this stock we own for more than 20 years. So it's not easy to say, boom, gone. But what I'm saying is, For many of these stocks where we have gone down, we have said that we will let the market tell us. Because what happens is, these stocks, not HDFC Bank, because that is still in our very favored list. I'm talking about some stocks which go up to 40p, then 50p, then 60p. We've also had them. So we would say, sell them from 4% to 2%. If for 3-4 months, it does not outperform and still make me randomly extra money, which I am not looking for, but for some reason the world wants to give me, I will sell it. Or I will sell it because, as I said, something else will come up. Now, DMart, we sold last year only on price. So DMart was up 27% by May of 2020. On what ground? I mean, it was already coming into the year when we had it. And we had it for 1.5 years or something. But that time, everybody knew about the company. It's a good company. If it does well, it should give you 20-30% return in a year. Now you have had a lockdown. Now there are problems. They are not only doing, the Amazon has come in or Reliance has been funded, and you are up 27% as if it is a great, perfect time. It's not their fault, doesn't matter. So now from that day, the stock is up 20%, or maybe now a little less, but some 20%. It is up from the day we sold it. But the market is up 50% from May, and you can see. Suppose it was not, and the stock had done well, so we'll buy some other stock. It's not that we put that money in a bank account. And maybe that stock also did well. But we should own what we feel, because 2 to 3 years pass. Maybe 10 years don't pass. But 2 to 3 years, I can give you 100 examples where 3 years will pass and that stock will be lower than before. In not every case, but in many cases, and that is enough. And wherever it doesn't, okay, so we have bought something else. We hope that that one also did well. The point is, many stocks do well. And if you get that, your life is very comfortable. If you don't accept that because you refuse to understand arithmetics or data, then nothing can be done. But the reality is, you do what you want. Some 90-100 stocks will do so well that if you sell one because you don't like it for some reason, and you buy something else which you somewhat, little bit, not blindly doing it, but with some, most of the time it will work or it'll break even. Okay, it may not greatly outperform, but you have to do what your heart says. And the heart says that don't, knowing that everything is expensive, cannot be buying it that because expense doesn't matter. That is a ridiculous logic for a fund manager to say, actually, that I buy things and I don't care for the price. That even these Chanel bags, they cost $10,000. You can't say, no, I'll pay $100,000 for this bag, or somehow I'll look like a bigger heroine that I was at that time. You still have a price for everything.
Right, Sameer. Thank you so much. It has been really pleasure talking to you. We have done, many webinars, but this has been one of the very good webinars that we have done. Almost went on for close to 2 hours. Thank you so much for so long time. And thank you for our audience to be so much patient. And we'll come again. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.